Okay, first of all,
No chance.
Just to
You think
educate
that we almost lost America on January 6th. Like, I just don't buy that you're that soft.
Yeah, I do. And just to educate you a little on this, I was saying this for 5 years when everyone was laughing at me for saying this, that Trump would never concede the election and he would never go away. I was all alone on a rant.
In this video, Candace Owens and Bill Maher engage in a heated yet insightful debate, addressing a range of controversial topics including Trump's role in the January 6th Capitol riots, media bias, the Me Too movement, climate change, and the rise of political correctness. Owens confidently challenges Maher's views, defending conservative positions while pointing out what she perceives as hypocrisy and manipulation by the media and cultural elites. Despite their sharp disagreements, the two ultimately find common ground in criticizing modern political correctness and its effect on free speech and public dialogue.
Like my colleague Matt Walsh, she's got 6 kids. I feel I'm naturally competitive.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, it's really bad.
Well.
It's bad. I'm very, very competitive, so I feel like now I might just have 6 kids, just 7, just to beat them. It's really bad.
Definitely bad for the planet.
I know.
Let's not get into that right away. I mean,
kids are bad for the planet.
Well, everything.
They're pretty eco-friendly, actually. Adults are bad for the planet.
Well, they're not eco-friendly in the sense that they're going to have kids, and you're just making more people who are using resources. People who argue about planet and. Elon Musk, I don't understand his whole thing about we should have more people. It's like there's room. Of course there's room. It's not about room. It's about resources. We don't have the resources. We have the room. We just don't have, I read this the other day where what did they call the groundwater? We've already sucked out all the groundwater that we can possibly use. There's just not enough rain falling for all your kids. It's all about you, Candace.
Thank you. It's interesting because I've just kind of read this whole book debunking all of that, which I feel like in 2 years you're going to have a totally different perspective on all that, because I've seen your growth and where you were a few years ago to where you are now.
No.
And Elon Musk, I think, is probably pretty educated about the planet. Resources. What do you think?
No.
No?
Not necessarily. Not either are you. If you think that we can somehow keep putting people on the planet which has a finite amount of resources. Well, it's a shame to have to cut into that, but you do.
Yeah, you do.
You kind of.
Yeah.
But don't you not believe in the moon landing? So I'm supposed to believe you about climate?
I think it's so funny how people take. Well, first off, I know what I'm talking about with the climate stuff, so I'm just going to go ahead and promote.
Well, you're not the only one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you should probably realize that there is. In the same way that there are narratives, I think you're now more awake to. The climate hoax is one that runs trillions of dollars, and we are not running out of space. You could fit the entire world if you stacked it like New York City and Dallas. So
fit. I just said it's
you
not
said
about.
Fit, but the point is that hurricanes are down. The whole idea that every time it rains, it's because something bad is happening. Is it's okay.
What I will agree with you on is this: the environmentalists do often lie because they have this idea, this issue is so important, and by the way, it is so important, that it's okay if we shade the truth to get people on our side, and I don't agree with that. I'm always...
You lied every time.
Well, not every time.
What was your climate disaster growing up? Mine was global warming. They don't even say it anymore.
They don't say global warming anymore?
No, they don't. No, they say climate change. They went from global cooling...
Maybe not in your bubble, but in the world they do.
No, they don't. They went from global cooling to global warming.
They never were in global... No one was ever talking global... It was one... That's such a stupid talking...
The debate begins with Owens questioning Maher's belief in an imminent climate crisis, calling climate change a financially motivated hoax. She argues that the public is being manipulated into certain lifestyle decisions, such as having fewer children due to fear. Maher, however, holds firm in his environmental concerns and pushes back against her claims, emphasizing the need to address these challenges. Owens dismisses his stance as part of a broader culture and media-driven campaign to spread fear and control public behavior and opinion. Let's take a look.
Nobody was talking about global cooling. Yes, we understand that the planet is always changing. That's a different story.
No, there was a whole climate alarmism via the IPC for global cooling.
No, there wasn't.
Okay. There was.
But do you believe people landed on the moon?
Well, let's just back
Because
that
if
up.
you don't,
Because you're
then I
going.
think that's
No.
I think that
You are
really sets a
taking-
standard for this discussion.
You are taking something that was a Twitter
You can't answer it?
joke. I'm going to answer your question,
Okay.
but I'm just trying because I think you should add context, because what you're doing now is you're jumping away from an actual meaningful discussion about climate change and the hoax that's surrounding it and making people fearful to have children. And you're like going, well, didn't you once tweet? When I said, literally, I said in the tweet, let's have some fun today. What is one conspiracy theory that almost got you and that you think like could possibly be real? And I said the one that always gets me every time is the moon landing. How come we haven't gone back? Of the things I talk about and I'm known for, like, there wasn't even an article written about this about me.
I wasn't planning to talk about it.
Yeah, so it's like, how did you get here?
Because
you saw it on Twitter?
I got here, somehow I knew it.
But how?
Because it's out there.
But it's
because
not.
I've
It's not
read
even in my Wikipedia. It's so obscure. It's so niche that I'm just like curious.
I don't think that's the case, because I think I read it in the Vanity Fair article about you.
No.
No?
Nope.
Well,
That's what I mean. It's not even relevant for I've never ever had a single person sit down and ask me this question.
Well, then
so I'm
I've
just
done
like,
America a service, because
Okay.
we find the baseline of your thinking. I'm sorry, but that is relevant. That you don't think men landed on the moon.
no. I just said I would first off, what I specifically said was
You don't know?
I want to know why. And I think even Elon Musk said this in his timepiece.
Ask him about it.
Yeah,
Ask him
I
about
think
the moon.
he did address it in his timepiece.
I think he probably believes it
But I'm just not interested in this topic at all. So it's just
Okay.
you just came in so fiery about something that
I
I am not known for. That was like an obscure tweet
I don't want-
of like
I
it
don't
started
want-
with "Let's have some fun," and it was in a joking manner. And suddenly you're
Sorry.
like,
Okay.
"How could you not believe the moon landing?" And I'm
Well, I
like,
do
the
believe
energy
that.
is
Okay,
like
okay,
a little.
My apologies. And I don't want this to be adversarial.
No, it was just
if we
surprising.
hadn't got on to global warming, I
Well,
wouldn't
that's something that I actually
wouldn't have
believe,
thought
so I'm
the moon.
okay to have this topic.
No, but I connected it to that because it was like, okay, if,
But I'm in the public sphere talking about that. I've had experts on my show talking about, like Gregory Weinstein talked about his book about the climate change hoax. I care deeply about that because of the implications and how the climate change hoax and the trillions of dollars that are basically disappearing for things like Paris Accord agreement. Like I'm very much on record.
Now moving on to the next segment, where Candace delivers a sharp rebuttal to Bill. She criticizes his stance on January 6th, accusing him of pandering and exposing what she sees as a flawed and misleading narrative. Pay close attention as Bill responds, while Candace stands her ground throughout this intense and thought-provoking exchange. This part is especially compelling to watch.
I mean, you saw BLM riots, right?
yeah,
The summer leading up to this, right? Where I lived in DC at this time, where you couldn't go outside, cars were flipped, things were burned, people
Yeah.
were boarding up their
Oh, yeah.
windows. But you thought the end of democracy, you can say this meaningful human place, happened when people above the age of 65 stormed the Capitol. You thought that was the worst thing you've ever seen in American politics.
well, I mean, what was the worst thing? That was a small part of a bigger picture. The worst thing was that finally we had a president, after all this history that we've had, nobody ever did this, not Al Gore and not Nixon, who probably didn't actually lose their elections. They allowed this peaceful transfer of power to happen. We finally had a guy who decided, of course, because he's insane, decided that no matter what happens, I won this election. There's only two things that could possibly happen. I win the election, or if I don't win the election, there must have been some cheating. It was looked at by his own people around him, including the Homeland Security Department, including the Director of National Intelligence, including every court, federal and state, including his own lawyers, his daughter, Bill Maher. Everybody told him, you lost this election. They looked at this over and over again. Even the Republican vote counters, like the one he called who said, find me 11,000 more votes. Even those people told him. So plainly, he did not accept losing the election, and then he tried to put in a bun. This is why he's on
but
trial.
I'm just
It's not
asking
for
if you
lying.
believe that day, as the media presenter, I'm talking about media hoaxes.
I gave you my answer. It's not just that day, although that was part of the scheme. I mean, it's not like coincidence that they showed up on the very day that they were certifying the vote at the very place they were doing it to stop that from happening.
And
That's not a
did you have any
coincidence.
questions about why the FBI hasn't been able to find, since we started with media hoaxes, you think it's strange that they haven't been able to find who dropped off the pipe bombs the night before? Because I think that's the strangest piece.
What pipe bombs? Oh, this is some red herring
no, it's
bullshit.
not. Not red herring. This is in the news. You can watch the CNN, MSNBC. Remember the night before on January 5th, there were pipe bombs that were set outside of the RNC and the DNC headquarters, right? And this was a part of the whole thing. That bombs were about to go off, but they were able to, get the bombs out. This is why, AOC said she had to fly for all this stuff. And so I'm asking you, do you have more pressing questions about why they have not been able to find the person that dropped off those pipes?
I will have to look into that the way you'll have to look into the moon thing.
Okay.
Because
I think that's a very big piece for a lot of people of just understanding what actually happened on that day.
As I said before, I don't trust the media on anything because they never give you the full story. So I will allow that there could be this element to the story that is part of the story. I don't think it will probably change my mind that Donald Trump would not concede an election.
Hillary Clinton took a very long time. Actually, I don't think she's
Hillary Clinton was there before the night was over in her purple suit conceding the election.
She slept in. You're wrong.
No, I'm not
wrong. John Podesta came to the podium and said,
it was before dawn of the next day.
Okay, my point is that saying that there was
you lost your point.
No, I didn't lose my point. My point is that you're saying that
about Hillary, you were. Hillary conceded as soon as it was obvious that she lost.
The thing that I'm trying to get you to say though, we know that you hate Trump. That has been abundantly obvious.
Yes,
I actually think that Trump out of office
for good reason.
Was a good thing for your show because it allowed you to.
It's not about my show, Candace. That's insulting.
No.
It's insulting.
I'm saying because people that weren't watching your show that you didn't let me finish. You can't insult my sentence I didn't finish.
No, but you keep
I was going to say that people that did not watch your show because there was so much dedication to talking about Trump during those years, then were switched onto your show because you moved on. You started talking about other topics that were crucial, and I think brought in more of a conservative base.
Can we
That's
just?
not insulting
can we
to say.
just? Yeah, it is. Can we just have this professional courtesy that I concede and I believe you believe everything you say.
Yeah.
Give me the same courtesy.
I said I believe you hate Trump. And
you're saying I'm doing things for ratings or to bring in a different audience. I never do anything.
I actually believe that literally amongst my audiences, more conservatives started watching you post-Trump.
Yes.
Myself included.
But that's a big.
That's not bad. I'm sorry I said you got a bigger audience now. Gosh, you're going to call yourself the more people like me.
No. You ascribed a reason to it that's not true. I do have a bigger conservative audience and a less woke audience, probably. More people who are common sense centrist. Good. Fine. I didn't do it for that reason.
I never said you did it for that reason. I said I did not imply that.
Okay, fine.
I didn't. I genuinely meant what I said. Okay. Yeah. I think when Trump got out of office, you started focusing on different topics other than Trump. Everything was about Trump.
I agree.
Right? And it wasn't. It's never been that way for any other president. And not everything was about Obama.
Other presidents weren't not like that.
We have definitely. I think I believe that and we can disagree on this. I think that from the second he announced that he was coming down, there was a media obsession with taking him down like I've never seen. It actually woke me up. I was on the liberal side. It turned me into a conservative. It was vicious. It was nasty. It was calling him things that he wasn't.
There was, but
you didn't participate in that. But pretending that Trump was like a avowed racist that was trying to bring back the Klansman was a little bit like dramatic,
But that happens with every president and everybody who gets that high up in the tree. When I don't know how far back it goes, probably to George Washington, when a person is the one who's going to be in power, the people who want to prevent that, who think oppositely of how he thinks or she thinks, yes, that's what they do. They try to destroy. They didn't try to destroy Obama.
Not in the way that they come on Trump. You had the Lisa Bloom period where you had 85 million women that came out of the woodwork with allegations. And where were you guys? He's been in the public sphere for the last 30 years. He's had shows. Where were you guys with your allegations before he announced running president? I mean, it was so obviously a ratchet job. And these things matter to you because it doesn't matter.
One of them's on tape.
It doesn't matter.
One of them's right from the horse's mouth saying, I grabbed pussy.
He didn't say I grabbed pussy.
He did!
He said he was talking about groupies. He said they will literally let you do anything, including grab them by the
He wasn't talking about groupies.
Maher argues that January 6th was a critical moment that nearly destabilized American democracy, fueled by Trump's refusal to accept the 2020 election results. He criticizes Trump's influence over his followers and his repeated claims of election fraud, which Maher believes helped incite the Capitol riots. Owens counters by pointing to other unrest, such as the Black Lives Matter riots, which she believes were equally significant but received far less attention. She questions the media's portrayal of January 6th, suggesting bias and highlighting unresolved issues like the pipe bombs planted the night before, which she feels were downplayed or ignored.
The Me Too movement, I'm very against all of this like rabid feminism. I don't like the idea of
Well,
I actually think it does really bad for relations between men and women to pretend like some things are not abundantly true, that we don't have a culture of groupies and hoes and thoughts and music videos. And
yes, we do.
And it's fine. And not every woman is like this. And I wouldn't love to hear my husband say it, but I also would be like,
right.
Girls, I'll let you do anything to them.
Right. It's funny that we can admit about men that they're dogs because most of them are.
But we can't admit that girls are sluts.
But we can't.
That feels not fair.
Well, I feel fewer women are sluts than males are dogs. Almost.
And I just learned that you are not on OnlyFans, which is lovely.
That I'm what?
That you're clearly not on OnlyFans, where they're literally selling their bodies for a certain price.
Oh God, no.
Owens criticizes the #MeToo movement, expressing disdain for what she sees as extreme feminism that promotes a victim mentality among women. She argues that the celebrity and entertainment industries are full of individuals who actively pursue relationships with powerful men, and the media has used these dynamics to unfairly vilify men, particularly those like Trump. Owens further claims that modern feminism has damaged relationships between men and women, creating a toxic atmosphere of mistrust rather than empowerment.
Was kind of the first politically inclined person in my in my family, and it was interesting to kind of see how everyone reacted to it. And my grandfather, I cared very deeply about what my grandfather thought about me. Very deeply. I care very deeply about what my grandfather thinks about me. And he called me up one day, and I happened to have been invited to speak about the rise of white supremacy in front of Congress. And I've never seen that clip of me.
Mm-hmm.
My granddad
yes.
My granddad was sitting behind me. And when I did my opening statement, I said that part of the reason that I'm so compelled to dispel this narrative is because my grandfather grew up with real racism. My grandfather had the real Klansmen shooting inside of his home in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Yeah. He was a boy. And how insulting for me to harness what he lived through. Right. I haven't lived through a day of that in my life.
Right.
Because I want clicks and views and for people to feel bad for me. That should make people sick when they do that, when they pretend.
And that's all I'm ever asking.
And my granddad, what's so crazy about it, I read about this in my book, and why I'm the way I am today, is that when my grandfather would go into these stories about the Klansmen who hated his dad, and I think it was because his dad was, the kind of person that might whistle at a white girl, you know what I mean? But anyways, when they hated his father, he'd go back in the story and he'd say, we'd run to the back of the house, me and the kids. My grandpa was one of 12, and we'd run under the bed.
One of 12?
One of 12, yeah. And then
you're carrying on the tradition.
Exactly. My granddad would say, and then my daddy would grab the shotgun and speak back at them, and shoot back at them boys. Like, so powerful. Wow. Not this, like, oh my God, I looked at these colleges not accept. It's like, black people have gotten weak. And it saddens me because we were funny, the concept for me of comedians, Black people being able to turn pain into humor, funnier than everybody else, like, always from this position of strength. And I had so much pride in that growing up. I had pride in my grandfather, pride in Black America, and to see it all suddenly dissipate for me with the rise of the BLM narrative, this idea that, like, no matter what, whenever Bill Maher's thinking, he just sees me as, like, that's a horrible, toxic.
No.
I want to be able to make fun of you for your race. I want you to make fun of me. I want us to be able to talk stereotypes because they're real and they're funny.
And I've seen you, like, take people apart, like about Black dorms.
Yeah.
Black only dorms. I saw you with the guy, I forget who it was. But, I mean, when you chop someone up, you do it like nobody's business. And again, when I'm agreeing with you, it's just such a pleasure to watch that. And that's all I'm ever asking with I've been, there are lots of idiot, like, commentators, like Bill Maher's a racist. I just want the truth. Yeah. Just don't lie to me.
But don't you miss being able to make fun of each other in, like, a feel-good way? Go watch the old stand-up comedians. They would walk in, they'd be on stage, and they would just literally, you could not survive. You were Chinese, you're getting a joke. You're Black, you're getting a joke about and everyone is being offended, and everyone's laughing. And when they walk out, they're closer, because you need to have it taken.
You do.
You're not
now when you're walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
See, I can't make a joke because if it's taken the wrong way,
you gotta issue an apology.
And that way we don't get close.
Yeah, we never get closer. Get closer. The self-hating white person is, like, as observing this as a Black person, right? This is something that black people could never get behind, right? You're not going to get black people to like just lash themselves in public, and you know what I mean? Like, we're going to be like, we look at this and we're a little bit like, you guys are a little weird. Like, at least we're like saying we're amazing and you guys are awful. Like, you guys are.
And if I can, I'll pop my collar and I'll shine.
The self-flagellation.
I've done
it
two.
Makes me uncomfortable. And it's a lot here in LA.
It is weird.
It's just weird. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to watch people.
It is uncomfortable.
Hurt themselves.
And also, it puts an imposition on black people. They're asking black people to forgive them or to signal that I know you're an ally.
Yeah,
I know you're one of the good.
I'm like, oh my God, please,
I hate it
don't talk to me. Yeah, I'm like, every time they do it makes my skin crawl.
It's cringe.
Because I know you don't mean this.
Of course not.
And I don't know why. And it makes me feel like you're like
Candace,
watching.
Black Panther was very meaningful to me.
And I wanted you to know
that
I see your experience, and I hate myself, for being born this way.
We were going to call my show Keeping It Real, but, of course, that would have not aged well. But at the time, and I remember the network was like, too black.
Too black.
Too black. But, like, what they don't understand is that that's what, in my experience, I'll just say this, in my experience, what black folks love is not, I'm your ally. They love keeping it real.
Yeah. Well,
keeping it real.
My dad loved you.
Both Owens and Maher explore the rise of political correctness and its effect on free speech and humor. They reflect on how past comedy norms allowed for more open and honest conversations about race, gender, and culture, which they believe helped bring people together through shared laughter. They criticize today's culture of hypersensitivity, arguing that it has made it harder to joke about certain topics without offending others. Owens specifically points out how this shift has weakened American society, making people more fragile and less willing to face uncomfortable truths, as fear of offense has stifled meaningful conversation. What are your thoughts on today's discussion? Share your views in the comments below. Thank you.